What's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning into the channel. I'm Kevin Duffey. This is Duffey Geeks Out. And fresh off my last segment that I did of Geekly News, I've decided that I'm going to keep that format going through this channel, but I am dropping the name Geekly News. I don't love it. I thought it sounded okay, but as I've been recording this video, I decided it's not sitting well. I'm just going to call this type of video moving forward just Geeking Out, because that's really what it is. So it's just a weekly geek out. That's what it's going to be. Lots of topics. I'm going to cover them right now. Let's jump right into it with topic number one. Topic number one being the Super Mario Brothers movie. I got a chance to check it out yesterday with my wife and kids, and despite the fact that I was not super thrilled with the voice acting, the cast, or at least the voice acting by Chris Pratt, at least in the trailers, I can happily report that this movie's pretty goddamn fun. And even though the critics and audience are worlds apart on this one, I can say that for this movie, I certainly side with the audience. I thought it was a lot of fun, a lot of nostalgia in there for Mario fans. I mean, there were parts of this movie where as soon as certain things happen, and this is not spoilers, but as soon as certain things happen, certain musical cues pop in that are just like perfect for what's happening in the moment of the scene. And that just made me so freaking happy. And there are lines of dialogue that are so funny for anybody who loves any Mario game or has played Mario as long as I have, particularly. Like, there are just lines of dialogue that are just they're pulled right from the game, and they are handled perfectly. It is a lot of fun. Jack Black does a fantastic job as Bowser. I thought he was so good. Luigi's a little underused. It's definitely more Mario than anyone else in the movie, but it's not that crazy. He is definitely the more used of the characters in the games too. So that's nothing new. But Anya Taylor-Joy did an awesome job as Princess Peach. Again, she's a lot of these characters. The biggest flaw of this movie is that it's a short runtime, and the story is just kind of there to show you Mario stuff. It doesn't really have a major impact. There's not a lot of... It's not a super flushed out story the way that like certain like Pixar movies do, or certain animated movies do, like How to Train Your Dragon or whatever. Like, those are great movies that just happen to be animated. This is definitely just like an animated movie that isn't necessarily a great one. But again, having been a massive Mario fan, my kids definitely are too, we had a blast with this movie. This movie made a shitload of money this weekend too. It made like $368 million globally and became the #1 weekend for an animated movie ever. It beat out Frozen 2 by like 10 million, which is incredible. This movie's definitely going to get a sequel, and there are post-credit scenes in there to kind of not necessarily hint at a sequel, but to hint at characters that should pop up in sequels. So I thought it was really cool to see certain things like that. And yeah, I hope that in the next movie, when it gets greenlit, I hope that they spend a little more time crafting a better story for these characters, because while this movie's fine as is, and it's fun, and if you got little kids you're going to take with you, you're certainly going to have fun with them. They're going to have fun with it, so that's fine. But for the next movie, you really want to bring writers on who can really flush out a better story. But the song Peaches by Jack Black has become quite annoying in my household. My kids have listened to it a million times. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't seen the movie, rush out and see it. And you soon probably will have it playing and stuck in your head all day like we do at my house. So, yeah. And on the back of that, though, I wonder what the next project that they will greenlit or Illumination will greenlit for a Nintendo game. You know, I mean, obviously it'll probably be Super Mario Brothers 2, but I would imagine they're going to be like looking at their other Nintendo properties and seeing what they can come up with. I always thought they should do a Legend of Zelda series, whether they go live action, or I guess you could go live action, but since it's Nintendo, they might do animated with that too. Big problem there is obviously your main character, Link, doesn't really talk, so I think a lot of hardcore gamers would have to get used to the fact that your main character is definitely going to have to talk if he's going to be in a movie. But my money's on Link getting a green, or Legend of Zelda getting a green lit. movie deal very soon. Yeah, so that's going to do that for topic number 1. Topic number 2, the Blue Beetle trailer. This trailer dropped early last week, and I watched it like 1,000 times, and I just didn't have a chance to get around and do a trailer reaction to it, obviously, because I just couldn't stop myself from watching it right when it dropped. I am very excited to see this movie. I think Xolo Manasueto, the kid from Cobra Kai, that's obviously playing Jaime Reyes, Blue Beetle, is a perfect cast for this role. He's definitely an up-and-coming kind of action star, if you would. If you follow Cobra Kai, you probably love the kid. And I don't know, this has got all the setup that this could be a real win for DC. It's a lesser-known character. The box office, the budget going into it probably wasn't that crazy, but it's a relatable, fun character. He's very much like a good hybrid of Spider-Man and Iron Man. So people who see this will understand some of like the shots, like, oh, it's a teenage kid gets a super suit, but obviously it's a little more alien than the Iron Man suit or whatever. But I thought it looked like a lot of fun. George Lopez seemed like he's a over-the-top conspiracy theorist as his father. That freaking hair, man. This mullet. That just looks ridiculous. I hope George Lopez went on that and said, no, make me look fucking nuts if I'm going to play this character, because that would be amazing if he like had enough pull to decide the wig and everything. But he looks awesome with that mullet. You don't get really too much of a view of what a villain is in this movie. Again, it was more of a first trailer to kind of get you excited for the way that the suit looks and, get to know the family a little bit. I do like that in this movie, it's not going to be the family doesn't know and it's the kid keeping it secret. They know from the jump. The first time that fucking scarab gets on him, it's right in front of his family. So that's no hiding that one. So that'll be pretty interesting to see the way they react and the way that they're involved in the movie moving forward. And one thing that I noticed in the trailer that's pretty cool is obviously, is it Susan Sarandon? I think it's Susan Sarandon that's in the movie. She comes to him saying that like the scarab chose you, but it belongs to me. Her character is Ted Kord's brother, who is the original Blue Beetle. And if you notice in the trailer, they're in the old Blue Beetle's like almost like Batcave, if you would. And you can see the old Blue Beetle suit and stuff like that. He flies around in like the Beetle fucking mobile or whatever the hell it is. And that's interesting that you're going to get Jaime Reyes, but there's obviously going to be something left over there to explain about Ted Kord. So I'm curious what happened to him or if he's even going to be in the movie at all, because obviously he has a big tie-in with Booster Gold, who got announced in the new James Gunn DC universe that they're doing a Booster Gold series. So whether that ties in at all, I will have to wait and see. But I'm excited for Blue Beetle. I thought it looked great. Next up, we're going to jump into the Star Wars celebration that just happened. And this was a big deal, man. Lots of cool announcements, lots of unexpected announcements. I am going to talk about my top 3 or 4 things that I'm taking away from this. The first thing for sure is going to be the announcement of the 3 theatrical release films that they are releasing. That is obviously James Mangold, great director, is tackling the Dawn of the Jedi for his movie that he's going to be doing. That's really interesting because before this, they announced that they were doing a series of High Republic, which is obviously post Old Republic and pre where the Skywalker trilogy picks up, or Skywalker 9 movies pick up. So that was like 400 years or so where the Jedi were just like, totally, we got shit under control. They said they were going to do that, but then nothing's really moved forward with that. They released a couple novels for the High Republic that were, I downloaded them, but I actually never listened to them. So those are books that I probably need to jump into. I don't know if they're any good. I'll have to check some user reviews first before I continue with them. But James Mangold is going to jump in and do a film at the dawn of the Jedi, which is obviously the founding of the Order, which is probably, I imagine, some characters getting together that are Force wielders. Some of them will obviously be evil, and there'll be that split. So it's a cool era to jump into and a cool era to explore. So I'm very interested to see what James Mangold could do with that story. The next thing that they announced that I'm kind of hopping out of order here, but this one took me by total surprise. I didn't expect this at all. Charmin Obaid. I'm sorry, I'm reading it right here because I don't know. I don't want to fuck this name up. Charmin Obaid Chinoy who was the person that headed up Miss Marvel show on Disney Plus, which I loved. The Miss Marvel show. I thought that was beautifully directed and fun. She is stepping in to direct a sequel to The Rise of Skywalker, a standalone film. Well, I guess I don't know that it's standalone, but as of right now, that it is a standalone film starring Daisy Ridley as Rey Skywalker, picking up 15 years after the events of Rise of Skywalker, where she is going to be trying to build a new Jedi Order. Rey is going to be building a new Jedi Order. I don't know what the plot details are around this, but holy shit, I never thought that we were going to get another movie with these characters. But it makes sense because, and I say these characters, Daisy Ridley's the only one I know that's coming back. But it makes sense when you think about it because Disney spent so much money investing in Galaxy's Edge, where it's basically all about the sequel trilogy, and Rey's a prominent character, and Finn's a prominent character. The First Order's prominent characters in this thing that they've built out, so they kind of had to go back to the well with that a little bit. I don't know how I really feel about this one, because honestly, I don't like the sequel trilogy at all. I liked The Force Awakens, and then they dropped off hard from that point for me. I like Rian Johnson. I think his movie is better than Rise of Skywalker. I think Last Jedi is better than Rise of Skywalker. But this trilogy severely lacked oversight. There was no concise story. It was letting J.J. Abrams direct what he wanted to do, letting Rian Johnson direct what he wanted to do, and then realizing that was an issue because they didn't have any story oversight to connect this trilogy, which is it is so annoying that happened, because you literally are part of Disney owns the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which to that point had put together like 22 consecutive movies that were all leading to one big story arc. And Lucasfilm couldn't even keep it together for 3 movies. You can't tell me you didn't have the blueprints for 3 movies in there and get from point A to point B and let everything in between just... You can have your directors do their input and make the movie they want to make, but you gotta keep the story going in the confines of what you were trying to tell. You can't just let people step in and do whatever they want. Obviously, it didn't work. It was a very disjointed trilogy. I was very disappointed in it, and I never thought they'd make another one. And honestly, as long as the writing is good and the directing is good, and the story that they're going to tell is worth telling, I'm okay with jumping back into these characters, honestly. It's not what I would want. I would like for them to come out and say, we're sorry about the sequel trilogy. We're actually going to scrap that they ever happened. It's going to become Star Wars Legends. It is no longer canon. I would love for them to do that, but it obviously is never going to happen. So maybe this next movie will come out, this next installment, and it'll be so good that it'll help erase some of the bile that I feel inside over the sequel trilogy. But I don't know. I never had any problem with Daisy Ridley or any of the actors. It was just the storytelling. And hopefully, if they come back, they're coming back to a story that they're excited about acting in, and that is the fans can get on board with liking. Because that's really what they got to do here. They're in a very odd place with the theatrically released movies. I'm optimistic, but I'm not going to get my hopes up too high, if that makes any sense. But moving on to the third movie that they announced, and this one is pretty awesome. This is Dave Filoni, the man who brought us the Clone Wars and has brought us the Book of Boba Fett, which was, hit or miss. The Mandalorian, which is pretty damn good. And the upcoming Ahsoka series. He is making his directorial film debut, and it's going to be the culmination of all of these series that he has been putting in the works. He's going to do a movie that's going to culminate all of these stories, which means you're probably going to get Ahsoka, you're going to get Din Djarin, you're going to get Bo-Katan, you're going to get maybe Boba Fett, I don't know. You're going to get all these characters from these movies together as, I assume as the protagonists of this movie he's going to direct. And it definitely said that it's set during that time frame in the events before the sequel trilogy and after Return of the Jedi. So it's pretty awesome. And on the tail, I'm excited. Dave Filoni definitely deserves it. He's a guy who loves Star Wars. He is basically like just projects George Lucas's vision to like a better standard than even George Lucas could in the end. And this guy gets it. He gets Star Wars. He loves it. He's been waiting on a movie for a while. I think this is a excellent idea. I think this movie could make a ton of money and could get a lot of people very, very happy. A lot of people are going to go and see it. So I'm on board for this. It's cool to think that when these shows wrap up that you're going to get a movie with them. And you know what? If it's successful enough, it could be a couple of movies. For all we know, they're planning it that way, but they're only announcing the first one now. So even though the series have been super successful, while they start, transitioning out of them, to think we could have, maybe a trilogy of movies with these characters together is pretty goddamn rad. So I'm on board for this 100%. On the tail end of this announcement, and I don't even know if this might have come out first, was the dropping of the Ahsoka trailer. And, oh man, I said in my last video that all I need in Star Wars now for me is just the Mandalorian and his culvert defending the Outer Rim from, pirates and rogue factions of the Imperials and stuff like that. That was until I saw the Ahsoka trailer. And then I was like, oh yeah, I fucking love Jedi stuff. So, I don't know, this trailer, man, it was awesome. It really did everything I wanted an Ahsoka trailer to do, and did some shit I didn't expect them to do at all that just got me so on board. And I believe this will be directly primed in to what this Filoni trilogy is going to, or Filoni movie is going to be too. I mean, they hit you with everything. Right off the bat, I'm seeing some Sith acolytes. I mean, they could be Inquisitors, I guess. Ray Stevenson lighting up his lightsaber, and he's got the chick apprentice, I assume. And I didn't expect to see, Sith coming at this. I know Thrawn was going to be in it, and you get to see him, and it looks fucking awesome. But, to see some Jedi fights with some Sith, that's fucking rad, man. I didn't expect it in this trailer. I didn't expect Ray Stevenson to be playing, either a Dark Jedi or a Sith or an Inquisitor, whatever he may be. I didn't expect that in the least. And he looked awesome. So it's going to be cool to see Ahsoka going up against him. You get to see, some classic characters from Rebels. You got to see Sabine. You got to see the pilot, whose name is escaping me now that I'm doing this video, but Mary Elizabeth Winstead's playing her, so that's awesome. I love her. I love her in anything. So, and you get to see quickly Ezra on a projector, and I don't know whether that is a flashback that Sabine's looking at, or an old hologram that she's looking at, or if it's a new message. It kind of looked old. It looked like he was wearing the same get-up he was wearing in earlier seasons of Rebels, so I don't know. The guy from Aladdin is cast as Ezra, so that's a really pretty spot-on casting. I can't wait to see that dude come out and step into that role. But it looked awesome, and so Rosario Dawson was kicking ass as Ahsoka. She looks great, and I can't wait to see these fucking lightsaber fights, man. They look so good. But the coolest thing that was there was the little bit of dialogue where she's talking about Thrawn and looking for him and all this stuff, and he's kind of stepping out to be the heir to the Empire. I was like, holy shit, she dropped it. That was, for those of you who don't know, Heir to the Empire was a book series that came out a long time ago, and it was kind of the unofficial sequels to Return of the Jedi. So that's really interesting. I think the Ahsoka series is going to kick off what could be an Heir to the Empire fucking trilogy. which would be so cool if they take this out of Legends and make it canon. That's what I think a lot of Star Wars fans will like go fucking nuts for that. And it will kind of, again, I not to shit on the sequel trilogy, but if there is a trilogy to flush out there and they do the Thrawn Heir to the Empire series, and you get Luke back, you get Leia back, again, you'll have to CGI all these characters in, you get Han back, have to CGI him in as well, it could be really good. And even if they're not all exactly back in the ways that they were in the Heir to the Empire series, to even have your cast from Mando, Ahsoka, and, Boba Fett or whatever, but you have Luke back. I mean, that would be fucking rad. Even if you don't get Luke back, I guess, but what was he doing this whole time if he wasn't helping with this new threat to the New Republic? But I don't know, man. I think this is really cool, and I think it could lead to a trilogy for Heir to the Empire. But anyways, that's going to do it for this edition of Geeking Out. So what did you guys think about any of these topics? Are you excited for the Star Wars Celebration news? Are you excited for the trailers? Were you excited for Blue Beetle? Are you excited that Mario is killing it at the box office? And did you get a chance to check it out yourself? Whatever you thought about any of these topics, please let me know in the comments. Click the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll come at you with more Geeking Out as I come to it. Thanks.